Hi there. I'm just going to introduce the Nibou admin panel to you now. So you start off with just putting in your admin credentials and just pressing login. It will take a few seconds to load because it's pulling the latest data for the dashboard, and that's the first screen you'll see after you log in. So it has an overview, a summary of all the statistics, the important statistics that you need, such as the total number of minutes that has been chatted, the total amount that's been billed, the total number of customers, the average rating, average earned per users, and if you come to the bottom, you'll see which issue has been selected the most, the top five. And if you come to this table, you'll see the most valuable customers in descending order. So basically which customer has been billed the most overall, and if you toggle the tab bar over here, you see the most valuable experts, so which expert has billed the most. So I'll just go through the different sections at the top. I'll start with the admin users. So if you want to add any new admin users, you just click on new admin user and you set the email and the password that you want for them, and they can go in and use the system with access to all the same things that you see right now. The next thing that I will show you is the customers. So any customer that registers will show up in this dashboard. Over here, the customer's dashboard, and if you want to search for someone by their email or by their username, you can use this side panel over here. Just enter who you want to search for, you click on filter, and they'll come up over here. You can even go into view to see a few more details about them. Let's look at another one. For instance, someone who has been billed in the past. I'm going to click on view, and you'll see a few transactions in the past on the transaction side. So you can't really edit any of this data though, because it's come from the customer, so it's going to be as is. So the next section that I'm going to show you, I'm just going to skip these few for a little bit and go over to system text. So there are three sections where we dynamically load text in the app, which is the data section. So this is something that comes up as you are accepting the credit card terms. Then you have the privacy policy and the terms which show up on the registration page. So I've just added this for your convenience because I felt that maybe you might want to change this over time, um, as maybe things might change or something might come up. So if you edit it from this section, it'll show up in the app as well. So right now, if you want to add something for Arabic, because it's just set in English and Turkish, if you want to add an Arabic version, you just need to click on add new translation, set the language to Arabic, and you put the Arabic version in here, and it would show up in the app. So that's what system text does. You can set it for the data. So data means the credit card policy, the privacy, and the terms. So how your data is being stored. The next thing I go to is the system settings. So what this is, there are just a few, I would say, starting points for calculations. This is what you can set over here. So going from the bottom to the top, that you can, again, this is for your convenience. Initially it was just hard coded in algorithms, but I just reckon maybe you might want to change this over time. So you can change a few things from here, just a little bit of flexibility. So if you want to change the max number of customers assigned per expert, uh, add or reduce the amount. So now I've set it to 10. You can change that from here. These are just the minutes of the expert and customer timeout. So basically how much time before they get the notification, the pop-up. Like for example, the expert will get in a minute that your customer is still waiting. If you change this to 2, the system will wait for 2 minutes before sending that notification. So this is just the time between when you want to remind them. Then the other thing that that you see over here is the price for customer and the price for expert. So the price for customer is how much you charge the customer per second um, of interaction. So any however long the chat room is kept open for, every second the customer gets charged this much. So how I got this figure right now is, I think you mentioned something like 4 cents or something, so I just divided that by 60 to get this value, but of course you can change it to however much you want, and based on that value you even set how much an expert would earn for that same 1 second. So both of these things that you can plug in how much you want this to be. Again, this is something you only see, so you could probably have a different calculation for your experts, but if you want something to be calculated automatically, you can do that here. And it is a little bit important. I'll show you a little bit later where this comes into play. So then coming over to a section called regions. So these values in system settings are in US dollar. So when you come to regions, you have two other currencies, which is AED and TRY, the dirhams and the Turkish currency. Um, and the same thing over here, you have the price for customer and the price for expert over here. So how much you want to charge the customer and how much an expert gets for each second that a chat room is open. So you can again change these over here as well. That's all that regions are for. Again, you can add a new region, but it's not completely supported in the app right now. We'll need to make an app change if we have to have more languages, more regions, etc. But for now, the convenience of having this is, if you ever want to change these values and how much things get charged, instead of needing a developer each time to do that, this is something you can control from the admin panel. So moving on to languages. Again, as I mentioned in the previous section, you can't just add a new language and assume that it would be supported in the app, because we need to load a lot more things. But I would say that it's a starting point to make it scalable to add new languages in the future. So right now it's just something in the system, not really something you should be changing right now, but it's just there for visibility. FAQs, we don't have that section for now, so let's go to the experts, or rather before going to experts, let's go to expertise. So expertise over here, you'll see all the different expertises that's been created, expertise that's been created, even the ones that have been created from the app. If the user adds a new issue, you'll see them all over here. However, only the issues added by the admin. So when you want to create a new issue or a new expertise, you go in here, you click on add new translation, you choose the language and you enter, for example, addiction. You click on add translation again, you add the Turkish version of addiction, you add another translation, you add the Arabic version of addiction, you click on create expertise, and now this would also show up in the app. Again, something that you did not mention, but just add it if you want. Very quick and easy way for you to add a new expertise from the admin panel and you want to show it up from the app. You don't need to do a full app update to do this, to get all the three languages for a new expertise. So then moving on to experts. So this is probably where I feel you might spend most of your time, this and probably dashboard and earnings. So if you wanted to edit any expert or create any new expert, you will use these. So like, let's take a look at probably an old expert that we have. I see you've created a few of your own. So from here you can just edit some details of an expert. You can change the avatar, you can upload the PDF file for them, which can be seen from the app. You can give them a username, although this is not really relevant. It's because we have the same model for a customer and an expert, but so that's why both of them have username, but no one really sees this. The customers always see their full name. Then you can set their primary language that they will receive any communication from, their gender, their time zone, their country, etc. And then you move on to availability. So availability over here is you set their days and their time that they're available. So over here you can only enter numbers, so numbers starting from uh, Sunday. So Sunday is day 1, day 2, day 3, going on like that. So you set the day, you set the time that they're available, and this is what's going to show up in the app. um, and then this same thing for languages. You can select what language that they support, and this is what something that's going to be useful for the search algorithm. So when we try to match the customer language to the experts that's available, so the language plays an important part in that, as well as showing the languages on the profile. And then finally, coming to expertise, you can add any expertise that this expert supports. You can add or remove um, any that you want, and again this plays a role in the matching algorithm for customer to expert. And on the right you can just see a summary of their last few earnings over here on the right, and then there's a link if you want to go specifically to this experts reviews, and if you want to go to all of their earnings, you can click on that link. So then coming to something called earnings themselves. So this gives you a room by room basis, um, all the transactions that's been made. So basically an ID of the transaction. So this, you can think of it as a room ID. Who was the customer, who was the expert, how long did it go on for, what was charged. So if the country of the customer was UAE, we send the currency of AED to Stripe. If we see the country was Turkey, we use the currency of the Turkish currency. I believe it's Turkish lira, I think. And if it's anything else, we use the currency US dollar to send to Stripe. So this status over here, which is yes, it means that the payment was successfully made with Stripe. If it's no, we also save it in the system and then try it again a little bit later. Maybe there's an issue with the card, or for some reason the payment failed. And then you also see over here, this is how much you have earned, or rather that the system has billed to the customer, and based on your earlier settings from system settings and regions, how much an expert would earn. So this is what this is, and let's say you go ahead and you pay a specific expert, like let's say you've paid Dr. Meena for this transaction, or you've paid all of these to Dr. Meena, this like this about $10-12. You've transferred that account from your bank account to Dr. Meena. You just need to select those three, and you say that you've paid for the expert selected. So then you notice that these three switch to yes, so that gives you a status as well that you've made a payment to these expert, and there's nothing really outstanding as yet for that. And then the last thing I come to is something called expert reviews, but you can also reach this place from the dashboard. So I'm just going to click on dashboard. It's just loading, and if I click on all ratings, so this gives you the overall, the average. It shows you all the ratings that's been made, and any comments as well that was left. So yeah, that's a brief overview on how to use the admin panel.